my site lines up fairly well with that period and what might have actually hit the earth. Now, again, in Monte Alegre, there's no impact, right? Nothing hit there. Again, the best way I could describe this is right now, and this is a great example. We both have artificial backgrounds right behind us.
Yeah.
It's like literally I'm looking at a screen of you as though I'm talking to you, and my mind is kind of blending it into reality that I'm just talking to Danny here face to face. Oh yeah, greatly, very much. Anna Roosevelt herself was a pioneer of archaeology in the Amazon, and also the way that we think about the Amazon. And a lot of people don't necessarily realize outside of, say, Brazil and other places, that when she was coming along, the idea was that the Amazon, the rainforest, and other rainforests throughout the world, like in Africa and other places, were not suitable for cultures to flourish and thrive. I guess in general, I've got like a slideshow, it basically covers much of sort of the major points of my book, right?
Yes.
But I also have some pictures to help sort of demonstrate a lot of what I was talking about. And I guess again, the main sort of takeaway is that I believe that the people at the site 13,000 years ago ultimately drew an impact. And so my site lines up fairly well with that period and what might have actually hit the earth. Now, again, in Monte Alegre, there's no impact, right? Nothing hit there. But I think that they might have seen something in the sky that they ultimately, I believe, were tracking and drawing, because like I just said a minute ago, this was something that was not part of their normal cyclical observations. It was like a big deal, and they knew something was happening and the world was changing. The impact probably happened in North America, or at least in the northern latitudes. So where we live today, like it would have been a catastrophe, a total catastrophe. Where they were at in the Amazon, the Monte Alegre is just 2 degrees south of the equator. So they're basically on the equator. They went through changes. They would not have been sort of immediately wiped out by some sort of impact. Like there wouldn't have been some sort of like, what do they call it? Like a big sort of blast that goes around the earth and wipes out all life. It wasn't like what killed the dinosaurs, but it was a significant impact that changed weather and all sorts of other things. And the longer term changes included rising of sea levels and other things as well. So I think that they, some of the pictures that they were drawing were actually the things as they were seeing them come through the sky. So.
You had a couple of pictures.
Yes.
Would you like to see us? I am very curious, and I think the people look this broadcasting too. They are very curious. So, and would you at the time when you let's see the pictures, explain what it is and what are your findings about that?
Sure. So, can I share my screen now?
Yes, of course.
And again, I normally these are like longer, so I'm gonna try and make this quicker and get to the point, right? Because you don't want to hear me give a whole sort of
For
presentation.
people who want order this book from Christopher Davis, a
yeah.
little bit
Yep.
selling for you.
Book.
You can
Yeah.
order this on Amazon. So if you can read good English,
Yeah,
you
Before
can
Sunset, Ice
before
Age,
sunset.
Amazonian
Yes,
rock art.
yes. So what a beautiful picture, Chris.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's from the
Wow.
actual site. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is the research area. Just to let people know, the Monte Alegre is in this part of the Amazon as it bends down and then back up. So this red dot here Santorini, the city that I was talking about before, where we were
Yes.
excavating for the Cargill site, that's where that is. It's a bigger city today, and Monte Alegre is around the bend of the Amazon, but it takes like a boat trip overnight to get from Santorini to Monte Alegre. And by the way, this is like in the middle of Brazil, northern Brazil, so a
Okay.
good ways into the Amazon from the Atlantic. All right, this is
Wow.
just one of the things that, and this picture is actually from Anna Roosevelt. Somebody had found during one of their excavations. They had dived into the river and found this Paleo-Indian crystal quartz projectile point. So you could see that they were making some really exquisite pieces of
Could you
art.
it see like a crystal or a stone?
This is quartz. So
A
it's
quartz.
yeah. So it's a
Okay.
stone, but it's a crystalline the crystalline version, right? Just clear
Okay.
quartz. You can see how
It's
big it is,
beautiful.
right? Yeah, yeah. It's a really great work of art. And again, it's the Paleo Indian period. So this is where the Amazon gets its name from. The Amazon flows from west to east, so the Atlantic is over here. This was Francisco de Orellana. Was the voyager, was the explorer who went down the Amazon in 1540s. Who gave it the name the Amazon because, well, he didn't give it the name, but he said that they had encountered female warriors right around here. Just to let you know, Santarém would be around here and Monte Alegre would be up here. So where he said they encountered female warriors was not too far away.
Very funny
Uh,
that places were changed, huh?
yeah,
In
right.
the 400 one about 800 years.
That's right. Yeah.
No more,
Okay.
no, lesser 500 years or more. Yeah, 500 years. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And at Monte Alegre, even this was from a cave where I took a picture. I was taking pictures of the wall. I didn't see this at all when I was in there, and this is only through image enhancement, which is why the picture looks so sort of colorful and weird. That you can see these words JUEX 1721. So even this is showing when European explorers came through the area. This word, as best I understand, is a French word. Um, so in the 1700s, the French sort of missionaries and stuff were there, and somebody had written in the on the wall. Now that art is basically not visible to the naked eye today. So the art um, that the missionaries made when they were there, graffiti, I guess you could call it, has basically vanished, whereas the native art has been there for thousands of years. And so one of the things that I was trying to figure out when I was there was like how they were leaving paint that stayed so long when like the graffiti art was going away so quickly. And so I did some experiments with some of the plants and stuff there. And again, it's a mix of kind of this annatto, which you can buy in the store even today, right? Um, we believe that they were also using this tree sap from the jutai tree, and also when I was there, they told me that they also believed that they were mixing it with like egg yolk, like bird egg yolk.
Okay.
There's all sorts of natural colors of red and yellow in the
It's not
landscape.
food. It's not
Mm,
food.
you know, yeah. You mean this? Yeah,
Yes.
this is the jutai tree. You can eat these pods, but
Oh,
it does leave a sap that
it,
this sap
it's look,
turns into.
yes. It's look like chocolate
Yeah, yeah,
with a creamy inside. You know.
right. Oh, it's actually powdery. It doesn't taste like chocolate, but it actually does taste sweet.
Okay.
But the sap, you don't want to really eat the sap. But the sap will become hard like amber, right? And so just like amber, the sap once it hardens, it can preserve for millions of years.
And I got a
The
question.
Yeah.
Moriti, Pitomba, Morici,
Uh-huh.
are those fruits or can you explain for people? I don't know what it is, so I think well
Sure.
maybe you can eat it, but maybe it's not very wise to eat it. Um,
Yeah.
are
No,
these fruit?
you absolutely got it. All of these are fruits that you can eat. Pitombo, borichi, murichi, adabrada, all of these are fruits up here.
from the
uh,
Amazon.
from the Amazon that grow in Monte Alegre,
Yeah.
and you could walk through the forest and eat them. And literally, again, we were talking earlier about like the misconceptions that people had of the Amazon and how Anna Roosevelt's research was showing that
Hmm.
it could support large people. Yeah, we're used to civilizations being supported by farming, right? So you have to sort of strip the land and grow corn and wheat and all sorts of other stuff. But in the Amazon, it's kind of the opposite. The food is already all there. It's just foods that we're not used to eating, right? And
Okay.
so literally, this out of Bravo, like when I was there, the brothers were who were helping me, the family that I was staying with, they pulled the off the tree and they were just eating it, right? And like that's how sort of ample the food is there. You could just walk through the forest and pull stuff as you're hungry and eat it.
Yeah. Did
So
you ever taste it, Chris?
did
Did you ever
I
taste the fruits, or
I
you
tasted
think
all
no?
of them except for Atabrava. But all these other ones, like Pitomba, I would eat in the morning. Literally, I would go out to use the bathroom, and it was growing right nearby, and I would take it. And yeah, the Pitomba is really kind of a nice little snack, so to speak. Um, Buriti is a lot harder. You can't eat this raw. Humans can't. Like you have to sort of make it into a soup or something, a broth.
No.
Uh,
Okay. It's only
but
in a
yeah,
soup you can make it. You can eat it. Not so in your hand and then eat it.
yeah, it's very hard. The
Yeah.
pigs and other things eat it, but for humans, they usually have to sort of cook it to make it softer
Yes.
and stuff.
So
And
when
then
you
what?
have when you
Oh,
want no any teeth anymore, you want to eat the burrito.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then morichi is actually very famous as a fruit. I don't like it, but it because it smells like cheese, but it
Oh,
tastes sour. So it's like a fruit, but it smells like cheese. But
okay.
it's very famous, and like they have flavors and ice cream and all sorts of other stuff for the
Okay.
morichi. Yeah, but this last picture though shows though that the morichi tree, literally its sap is red. So like when you cut it, it looks like the tree looks like it's bleeding, right? And all
Yes.
of
Yes.
these, yeah, all of these signs of the red and the yellow in the landscape, I believe were key signs that people 13,000 years ago were looking at and were very much intrigued and drawn towards. And that helped them to, in my opinion, that probably helped inspire them to draw and paint in shades of red and yellow, because all of the rock art is red and yellow. So for them, it was like a reinforcement that these colors were built into the landscape.
Hmm.
So yeah, you could see these different spots. This is not art. This is actually lichen that grows there, and this lichen is unique to the Amazon, and it grows in pairs of red and yellow, right? And lichen is like this symbiotic, algae and fungus, right? And so the colors help to protect. I think the algae produces the color to help protect the fungus from damage from the sun, and the fungus brings moisture that helps feed the algae. So there's a symbiotic relationship. But yeah, these two colors, actually three or four, really. The white is also a lichen, and green you can sort of see here. But the red and yellow really comes out because you see them on trees and on stones and stuff, and it literally looks like fresh paint. Like when I saw it, I thought it was at first I was like, well, it looks like fresh paint. But yeah, all of this is to say, and I want to sort of, I don't want to take up all your time going through this, but all of this is to say that we were talking earlier about the natural sort of observations and connections that people were making.
Mhm.
All of these things, it seems like they were making these connections throughout the Amazon. Like this is one of the cave art depicting something that took me a long time to figure out. It looks like something crawling up the wall. It's literally in the middle of the wall, right? This particular image of this cave. And I later found out that there's a frog in that cave that eats bats. It literally jumped up and snagged a bat that was hanging upside down from the ceiling. And the frog came back down on the ground with the thud. And that's when the brothers who I was working with pointed to it out, because I was taking pictures and stuff of other things. And yeah, the frog had a bat in its mouth that it had grabbed. And so we look back at this image, and it's like, oh, that's what it was. It was a frog climbing up the
Yeah.
wall. So these sorts of observations, these natural observations, are things that they drew. They drew rock art about. They were almost like they were labeling the caves as, oh, this is the bat eating frog cave, right? And this is the other one was like the owl cave, right? So this particular one is literally called Home of the Owl, Abrigo de Coruja. The very first time I walked in here, there was a big snowy owl perched up here. And it, I walked in and it flapped its wings and flew out. I've never seen it come back. But right above that are these pictures, these drawings of owls. And then right below that is this big mat of owl pellets and other things that owls have eaten over the eons. So that's what a lot of the cave art is depicting, all of these sort of natural connections to the landscape. And these are the major sites with the rock art that I write about in the book. And there's a bunch of different sort of concentric circles and stuff, right? Rayed circles. And so this is where, I started making the connection. Oh, here it looks like they're drawing, because this is open air, not in the cave, but they're drawing symbols of the sun. And one thing that I want to sort of point out, so this part that says Seha Dalua, it's actually pointing west, right? And this hill, Seha da Mashara, is the only thing in like blocking the horizon from that, the rest of the western horizon. So you can see the western horizon from there. The only thing that sort of interrupts that western horizon is this hill. So all of the art on this part of the hill, like there's no art over here. It's only on this western edge. And it took me a long time to figure, I was trying to figure out why they only painted on this western edge for quite some long time. And it was only after I started considering like what they're drawing that it's like, oh, they're drawing like the sun or the moon, or, they're drawing things in the sky, in the horizon. And that's when I started paying attention to these like concentric circles. And also, I could not help but notice that there were several different sightings of these sun and moon halos. And again, a sun halo and a moon halo. They're both caused by the same thing. It's technically a rainbow that goes totally around the light source, right? They're caused, and this is a moon halo. And
Yeah.
the moon
It's
halo,
beautiful.
yeah,
When it's in your
it's
garden, indeed,
mhm,
it doesn't matter where you live, but when something like the moon halo or the sun halo is coming in your garden or something, or in your living room, it's a spectacular phenomenon because
that's right.
it's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you see several where you're at, right? So yeah, they are quite spectacular. Especially this moon halo was really really spectacular,
Yes,
especially at night and everything. And so like this is a moon halo showing how big it is compared to the constellation of Orion, right? And it totally dwarfs Orion. So yeah, when they happen, they can be quite dramatic. So it dawned on me that that's what they were drawing, and that's why it had only appeared on like the western horizon on this hill, right? And then that picture at the beginning that I showed you is this image here, and right behind this image, this is Seha da Mashara, right? The only thing sort of interrupting that western horizon, and this is the furthest south that the sun sets on in the sky, and it doesn't fully clear the hill yet. Like that would have been over here, but this is where it sets today, and this is the painting that faces that sunset, right? And this is the first painting
is that
of these
closer up?
concentric images. Yeah.
Is it closer up and between the picture on the right side?
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
same picture, only close up. Oh, well,
Same picture. Yeah. This is
yes.
just image enhanced to bring out the colors.
Oh,
And you could even see like this yellow band in the natural. This is the natural photo. You can't really make out the yellow that well, This is just image and like this is just the image stretched so that you could see this was actually a color. Like I didn't falsify, I didn't add any colors to any of these image enhancements. It's just color contrast to bring out
But this is
the
what you
colors
see
brighter.
when you come at the rock on the
Well,
left
this is
side.
what you see today, right? This is
Oh, okay.
this is what you see today, but this is what was there and what is actually still there. Just with sort of a keener eyesight, you would be able to have seen this. So in other words, this is the freshest that it would have looked when it was first
Yes.
painted.
Maybe it's very fascinating when you're on that place and the sun
Mhm.
is shining on a special place, coming from the heaven, and then it
Mhm.
shines on the rocket. It can get a special effect.
Mhm. Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's possible.
It does sort of change or glow up the whole sort of side of the hill when the sun is shining directly on
Yes,
there.
you see the
And
ochre color here. The ochre.
yeah, yeah, that's
Yes,
right.
that's what we
And
talked about in the first episode.
yeah, in the book I talk more about there's a sun tower, so to speak, and everywhere where the sun ultimately shined its rays, I think they drew like paintings on that. I talk about that in the book. But okay, so this was the same hill, right? Sehada Mashara. This was where it was on the southern solstice, right? What today would be December. At the equinox, it's on the other side of the hill. So
Yes,
throughout the year it moves, and on the equinoxes it's here, and then it moves even further to the right for the summer solstice, right? And there's obviously there's a matching sun sort of image for the equinox, and then when it gets to the northern solstice sunset, there's a different image, huge, so the biggest one there with these concentric circles here, and there's nothing in the horizon, in the immediate horizon, for the summer solstice, but this is the furthest northern that the sun sets in a year, and they have an image of a sun or a concentric circle at least
yes,
for that spot as well. So they were delineating those limits of the sun. Here goes that same image, right? And we found a sort of a cache, a hole on the floor here. And upon digging into it, which by the way, there's actually a red mark here. It's kind of faded. But this red line here even sort of highlighted the hole. It was there. We didn't put that there. But digging into the hole, we pulled out these rocks and these stone tools. And these stone tools are kind of burned, half burned. Like you could look at this one particularly, half of it looks scorched, and the other half is totally normal. And so I
mm,
think I had mentioned these last time in the last podcast with you. I don't know what's going on with these and how they did that, but they certainly thought that these were unique to put them in this hole by the summer sun image, right? So that's one of those mysteries for some time later to write about. But all in all, this is kind of the stretch of the hill for which you have those different paintings of the sun. And so again, this stretch of the hill is following the path of the sun. Now, this is the most popular image, and this is the one that I was talking about that I wanted to show you a picture of because this image here is facing Sehada Mashara. So it's between the winter solstice and the equinox.
okay.
And it's got these, this is a really huge concentric circle image. Looks like it's got like a body or a dress or something. Not entirely sure what's going on there. This image, though, that's falling, um, I didn't really know what to make of it. For quite some time, my theory was that it was just the sun because the sun's going to be coming down. Like what this rock faces is the sun coming down as it sets, right? Because you're facing the west, so you're
Mhm.
facing the setting sun.
Yes,
Um, and Sehada Mashara is also in the horizon. I thought that this was maybe the sun setting on Mashara, right? And this was just the sun in the sky coming down. But Anna Roosevelt was actually the first person who had mentioned, she had mentioned that if this is the body, its arms and everything are kind of, it looks kind of wispy, sort of like a comet. She had made that comment years ago now, back in like 2008 or so, 2007, I guess. She made the comment. She had made the comment that it seemed to her like maybe a comet or something, and I thought maybe, but at the time I wasn't quite sure. I was still going off of, well, no, it's probably also just the sun or something. But when we come, and again, this is kind of theoretically what that would have, what you're facing, right? But at the time I was again trying to focus on what they were mapping out here. And so this is a full stretch of rock art in that part of the hill.
Mhm.
And these are the different sort of the settings of the sun throughout the year. So they certainly, for me, they had delineated a solar year, right? And then it was filled in with various different other pictures, like a manatee here, some sort of bird that's sort of partially chiseled off. You got a snake image here. So the idea was,
Yes, yeah.
that they were doing constellations or something. But a lot of other research here, you can see more images here. Um, we've got these owl images that to me like particularly odd and unusual. Later on in the book, I talk about how these might be constellations and which particular constellations. Like there's something called the Summer Triangle that they might have been depicting here. Um, Now, again, 13,000 years ago, a lot of people have misconceptions about. Let me go back to this for a second. A lot of people have misconceptions about how much the sky has changed in 13,000 years. Um, some stars are closer some than others, and so in 13,000 years, some constellations would have looked somewhat different, but not drastic. And also in 13,000 years, we do have a little bit of the obliquity of the Earth has changed a bit, as well as the precession of equinoxes. So the precession of equinoxes really just refers to when in the year you have your spring, summer, winter, and fall, right? Like which constellation is behind the sun during those periods of time. So, so the precession of equinoxes is what makes it hard to say this is the winter, this is the December solstice compared to the June solstice, right? So I don't really use those terms in the book. We have December 21st and June 21st today, but they would have been different times of the year. They would have been like April and like September or something in the past. And that really just confuses people. The sun was still positioned for the most part in the same place in the sky. It's just what was the calendar date that you would associate with that, right? But it's still, the solstice is still what we call the winter solstice. It's still when the sun sets the furthest to the south, and then the summer solstice, what we call the summer solstice, is when the sun sets furthest to the north. Now, in 13,000 years, the sun would have set 1 degree further north and south than today, right? So that's the big change in 13,000 years, that 1 degree further north and further south. And 1 degree is like half the width of your pinky held out at arm's length for naked eye astronomy. So the sun would have been a little bit ticked over to the left and a little bit ticked over to the right. And again, in the book, I talk about that, and it all kind of aligns with these pictures even better, because it's actually like 294 or so degrees to the north as opposed to 293. So it actually works out better, aligns better with 13,000 years ago than it does today. But I just want to sort of lay that out because, again, when we talk about like the precession of equinoxes and stuff, it might confuse people to say, well, back then, like their summer would have been April or something, right? So
Okay.
that's a little bit confusing.
Yes.
But the only thing that would have changed was the sun would have been 1 degree further north and 1 degree further south. Now the constellations, again, basically the stars would have been kind of arranged the same, but they would have occurred at different times of the year. So again, like if you were to say, and not much, by the way, but like Orion, I had shown you earlier, Orion sort of starts to appear in the late fall, it still would have appeared around the late fall. But it's confusing to say what date that would have been because the calendar dates are different. So Orion would have appeared between the winter solstice and the equinox, right? Because now that we've got a three-dimensional sort of curvature of the rock face, right? I can point to this particular part of that trail where you would see these constellations, right? And so when I'm coming to the owl constellations, it's on the part closer to the summer solstice. So it would have been a summer constellation, right? So when I say this is probably the summer triangle, it's based partly on where this is in the line of the solar year, right? And also the triangular sort of features that they're showing here. Okay, so that's just all right. Now, all of this, now the additional information, and I hope I'm not taking too much. Should I go faster or slower, or should I? You're good, Danny?
I'm listening full with I'm listening full. It was it's great to see it all that kind of stuff and to
Oh,
follow your story about your knowledge.
oh, okay, great. So, all right. So the other, so the next bit of information, coming back to those different caves that I showed you about the bat-eating sort of frog and the like owl cave and stuff, they were connecting sort of the cycles of animals to the landscape. And this is to show that the animal cycles change periodically, kind of almost monthly, ironically enough. And some of this information comes from ethnoarchaeology, right? That a lot of the different Amazon cultures, they talk about a particular month related to a particular animal because that's when that animal is most prominent in the landscape. And what I learned from other scholars like Edmundo Magana, who had worked on Carib Indian astronomy, is that they oftentimes will associate a constellation to the animal that's most prevalent at that time of the year, so that the constellation doesn't necessarily look like an animal, and so they name it based on what it looks like. Instead, there's an animal that's most prominent at that time of the year, and so they're going to call that particular construction of stars, they're going to call it that animal. They're going to sort of imagine it to be that animal because they're using it as a mnemonic to help them to remember that this time of year, oh, that's when the flock of egrets come, right? And so, for example, this was a picture that I took when I was there. This was in, I want to say, April, where you get all these white herons, these birds, descending on the landscape, just largely in April. They come back again near the end of the year, but they only have sort of 2 times of the year where they come and really descend on the landscape, right? And so that would be, for example, the time of the herons, right? All of these animals have a particular time of year that they're most prevalent. Turtles are sort of mating at a particular time, like early spring or something. Frogs, particularly throughout much of the world, early spring is when they're mating, and you're going to hear them at night. And so, particularly because you hear their mating calls at night, people throughout much of the world associate early spring with like some sort of frog constellation because it helps them to remember that the sound that you hear at night during that time are the frogs mating and stuff. So this is sort of the background understanding of what they were doing with the rock art. They were sort of personifying their year with these different images to help them to remember this animal is prevalent at this particular time of the year. And again, for a group of people who came through seasonally, that's particularly important, right? When they come there and they know, oh, okay, this is the time of year where we're seeing this constellation, and that means that this particular animal is most prevalent. So that is the animal that we can sort of successfully find in abundance. And so that's a lot of what they were doing. Okay, so now that we got the background covered, there were some images that seem to have been unique events. Like this is probably a personified comet. This is the 2 eyes here. And this is sort of this oval face, and
Oh
then
yeah.
you've got the hair. Yeah, and then even this whole thing was sort of an engraving, so to speak. The whole rock was engraved in this whole image, which I
It
didn't
it
actually know at first. I
it
didn't
looks like
recognize at first.
it looks like a big eye.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. You see this eye particularly. This is the
It's
second eye. This is the whole face, and then this is
a big fish and a big eye.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
a
The
little bit actually.
engraving itself looks like a big
Yes.
eye. And this is also along the pictographic trail. And this was actually the image that I saw first when Anna Roosevelt brought us to the area where I said, this is definitely the sky, right? Back then, I hadn't studied anything yet. I didn't even really notice the lichen yet, but I looked at this image and I was like, this definitely looks like the sky in some way. It's got like a star or something. I didn't know how, but I was like, I was definitely getting a sky theme. Since then, I've been able to do quite more correlations with it. This particular face is again a similar comet sort of design, right? With the head and stuff, and in this case, the neck is sort of the streamers. This looks again like a star. This is a kind of a concentric dot, something bright. I wasn't sure what was going on here because it looked like the sun, but these images to the side were encroaching it in some way, and I wasn't quite sure what was going on. And so for this image, it was really the comet that stuck out first to me, because this comet, again, this is facing the western horizon. And I thought about it, and I'm like, normally you see comets after something like the sun here, like would have gone down already. It would have set in the horizon, and then you see a comet, and the comet would have been upside down, right? Because its head would have been facing the sun. Sometimes you get a comet facing the opposite way, but that's rare, and also they're usually very faint, so it would still be over here. So I started thinking, and I said, well, what if you had a solar eclipse? If you had a solar eclipse during the day, then you might see a comet because the skies would get like really dark. And so I started looking for solar eclipses at this location directly where this rock faces the sky. And it took me a long time. I was using software, but that's what I was. And this is just the same image, but again, sort of sepia toned, sort of a type of de-stretch to bring out that there are also, if you can see here, there are handprints. So somebody, they're faint. These four handprints here suggest to me that somebody revered this image later. So this image had existed, and then people came later and like touched their hands to this image, almost as though they're touching this particular sky, like the sky at this event. There's a handprint down too. There's also like some sort of bird-like image here, again reinforcing this was something in the sky. The astronomy software pulled up that there was indeed a solar eclipse. I should say, theoretically, would have been a solar eclipse around 11,027 BC, and also potentially a comet underneath it. So in this image that was brought up through Starry Night, 11,027 BC, facing this particular rock face at 2:30 p.m., so it would have been almost, like early afternoon, there would have been a solar eclipse. Venus and Mars would have been above it, and even Mercury. So you have Venus is really the third brightest object in the sky, right? So Venus is really bright, and Mars and Mercury, and then a comet underneath it. And, going back to this image, you got, something really bright like Venus, maybe Mars over here. If this is the sun going through the eclipse because it's encroached, and of course you got the comet underneath it. So
Wow, what a
it
connection.
seemed to, yeah, it seemed to me, and this is exactly what this rock art faces, like the sky that it faces is it's right here.
It's like a
Um,
mirror.
yeah, and so that's what really. Now again, because on my dissertation committee I also had a astronomer, David Pennick here, and he was impressed by this, but he did want to warn, and to this day I always warn people that astronomy software can't be certain that there was a comet, especially going back 13,000 years. We don't have any verification of comets past like 2000 BC or something, or no, sorry, like 400 BC was kind of the earliest written down evidence of like Halley's Comet. So we don't know if this Halley 1910 actually existed 13,000 years ago. But it is odd and ironic that if it did, you know, the astronomy software calculates back and forwards based on the mechanics, right? That you would get a solar eclipse, which is pretty accurate as well. The solar eclipses and stuff are very accurate for Starry Night software. So you would have gotten a solar eclipse here. It is very ironic that it suggests that there could have been a comet there as well. So I can't say with certainty that that happened 13,000 years ago, even though the astronomy software is saying so. But that's a pretty strong correlation, probably the best that you can get or that you could hope for in terms of this business professionally. So so yeah, that's a major possibility. But the best I could say is it's a possibility.
Wow.
But the point of it is that it does further strengthen the idea that people were indeed painting things that they saw in the sky, in the horizon, at this site. And then we've got another one here at a different site, Pinel de Pilon. They have the same sort of sun halos and stuff. And they have this grid image, right? And I talk about the grid image, and this is what on Hancock's documentary, this is what he was most focused on. And this grid, this is the de-stretched image. Again, it has some sort of circles here and circles there. It's a very complex, much more complicated feature, but the whole rock art, rock outcropping is particularly interesting because the grid image is here, but it also has images like throughout. And this is facing, like it faces a much wider arc of the horizon. And including largely the east. The east is over here, and what about the 0 degrees is around here, and then in the back is the west. So east and west are at opposite ends here, and the sun does set to the sort of top right in this sun, in this sort of rocky area on the southern solstice. But the sun rises over here in this area. So we've got a different sort of not time frame, but a different part of the sky that it's connecting. So the sun would rise from the left and it would set on the right. And this grid image is what you're standing. So there's a platform here facing the art that you would be facing to look at this grid image. And so the grid image itself has a lot of X's, but then some of these designs are even like there's almost like a star pattern here in this column. And then we're back to X's. And then like some of them are like threes, just 3 lines here, right? Some of them are just a single vertical line. And then like 2 of them have zeros, or 2 or 3. So this pattern of different designs was a mess, right? And this image is just showing how I was trying to make sense of whether or not there was a pattern here. What I came up with is you get a pattern if you read this sinusoidally. Like if you read this from bottom to top, and then top to bottom, and then bottom to top, from left to right. That's when these line up the most. These different symbols. Now, coming back to this image really quickly, I don't really have the best picture here. Well, I guess you could sort of see there's kind of like a very faded face here. And as a matter of fact, this whole image to me started to more and more look kind of like a turtle. Like this is a turtle and this is a shell. Now, if that is indeed true, that is very helpful because turtle, what is it? I showed a picture of it. The Jatobá turtle, or Tracajá. No, it's Is it the Tracajad turtle? There's a turtle there in the Amazon that they associate with the sun. And I can't remember the name offhand right now. I'm drawing a
Oh, it
blank.
doesn't matter.
But they, Mhm. Yeah, there's a turtle that they associate with the sun in the Amazon, and I think I mentioned in the book that the story of the tortoise and the hare is actually a story of the sun and the moon.
Hmm.
The tortoise is the sun that moves slowly and steadily each day, and the hare is this quick, obviously rabbit-like creature that moves quickly. It's the moon, and that when the moon moves past the sun in the sky, and then it goes through the phase of the new moon for 3 days. The new moon, it's not visible at all, right? That's the hare in the story taking a break, and then when the hare reappears again, the sun has moved past it. So the story of the sun and the tortoise and the hare is actually a parable of the story of the sun and the moon in the sky. How the sun will move past the moon as the moon during a new phase of the moon, and then the moon appears behind the sun, and then it overtakes it again throughout the month. So yeah, here you've got the image of what seems to me like a turtle, and they might have been depicting the sun. And again, it starts down here by what would have been the head. And there's also, I'm trying to find, there's a snake image over there too somewhere that suggests that maybe it was moving in that direction. But anyway, again, I'm taking too long. There are a bunch of other images here that seem to be tracking the sun. So I think that they were tracking the sun here as well. But one of the things that I started to notice really late, and even as I was writing the book, was that the cave where I excavated, which is back behind here, the sun causes like certain changes, like basically a sun dagger pointing to the cave is over here. And throughout the time of the year, I wasn't keen on focusing on that at the time, but later on, I started to realize, oh, wait a minute. It creates sort of different angles of the sun going into the cave. Now, this is the excavation area, and this is the platform from which you can see the grid, and you can see they had straightened this wall. This is what the natural walls look like, and they're curved and stuff, as you might imagine. This is a huge boulder. This is sort of a naturally curved wall. This wall, though, they had flattened out. And you could see they had even, like, you could see these divots and stuff. This is the same wall they had made straight, right? Um, in the wall, after I excavated, the original soil was all the way up to here. And we had excavated down here, and you could see, actually even further, but you could see it started to reveal these grooves. And these grooves were gouged out of the wall. And this is what they look like up close. You could even see like this gouge is kind of angled a little bit, right? But this gouge is a straight 90-degree angle until it hits this hard portion here. I don't know how they gouged this wall, but these are the gouges again. This wall is the same platform wall that to me like feels like it was really iron wall. So like earlier we were talking about the guy who was banging on a stone in a different part of
Yes,
Brazil that
yes,
sounds
yes.
like a bell.
Yeah.
Yeah, this wall didn't sound like a bell to me, but it was similarly like iron strong, like it's really thick wall. So I'm not sure how they gouged out this wall, especially forming this right angle over here. But somehow they had gouged out the wall, which is odd because the rest of the wall is made straight and flat. Like this part up here, particularly, like just straight flat wall, right? So somehow and for some reason they made these gouges. Did not make sense to me at first. And then these are some of the objects. I'm going to zoom through this quickly. Some of the objects that I found, artifacts that I excavated from that area. Some of them are big, heavy tools that they probably used to flatten the wall and do the gouges, maybe. Some of them were actually this was probably a piece of the wall that they had chiseled off that fell into the pit. There's also ochre, red and yellow ochre. So we know that they were painting, right? This is ochre that they were painting. This is like an abrader, like a planer. Like you would take this and rub it back and forth to make the wall smooth or something. As you can see, this is the underside. It's sort of flattened. So all these things they were
Oh,
using
wow.
to straighten the wall. Now this boulder, this is a big boulder
Mhm.
that I had excavated. It has paint on it. And it actually also had some carbon right next to it and also a chunk of red ochre next to it. So no, it was painted. I had carbon that I could carbon date it with, and that's where I came up with these dates, 13,082 to 12,685. It was in level 7, so we know the depth and everything. So without a doubt, people were painting here this long ago. These are other tools, which, by the way, their tools had coatings themselves, like this whitish coating, beige white. You could see here a close up of something that they put on here. I don't know why they would have painted them, but they did. This has a flute down the middle, which is obviously it's not like a Clovis flute, but it is reminiscent of people of that time period in the Americas fluting, like making this gouge down the middle of their lithics for some reason. I'm not sure what this was used for, but again, it was something that they coated and gouged out. It was used indeed, and in fact, possibly used against some paint, as you could see on this edge. Here's another piece. I mean, it's just a bunch of different. This is the big ochre, red ochre chunk that was found even lower than the big boulder. So yeah, this is all of the levels that I excavated, and like a lot of the lithics that I pulled out by weight, by count, all of this stuff. And here you could see these sort of highlighted levels. This is levels 1 through 5 and levels 6 through 8. Level 6 through 8 is what more, like twice as much lithics pulled from level 6 through 8 than levels 1 through 5. And the dates that I got from the various different levels, levels 6 through 8 are all within like a couple hundred years of each other.
Uh-huh.
And they date back to the earliest period. So here you could see level 6, 7, and 8, they're all 13,000 to 12,800, 12,700. They end at the Younger Dryas. Like 12,700 or so is when the Younger Dryas begins. And then if you notice, level 5 is 6,000 years later. So people stop doing stuff at this site for 6,000 years. So the Younger Dryas begins and people stop. They left or something, never came back. And for 6,000 years, they don't come back. And then, 6,000 years ago, which is 4,000 or so BC, they're back there again. And so we got a gap of 6,000 years. So this is, when we say the Younger Dryas, it's like something happened. Like something happened. Something happened and people stopped. They left or something. I don't know if they died out. We don't see like dead bodies or anything, but all of this activity happened in this sort of narrow time frame. Then they stopped for 6,000 years. And again, in that time period, they were moving. They were sort of flattening a wall. They were doing all this rock art. They were moving a lot of earth. Here's some of the pigment analysis just to show that the pigments that I pulled are consistent with the pigments that were on the wall. So they were indeed painting. Coming back to the rock art, some of these images are in the direction that the sun would have moved from east to west. And then
Wow.
coming back to,
What a great picture.
Thanks.
Yes.
This is in the excavation pit. Some of this is the flattened wall, and this is the angle of the ceiling that makes that dagger look of the sun that I mentioned earlier. So going back here, the angle of that flattened wall and the overhang that the grid is painted on produces this, man, oh, here it goes. Produces this angle of the sun, right? Pointing to the cave. The cave is back here. So that picture that I just showed you there is the sun shining through, producing this dagger pointing to the cave. So somebody was pretty keen on like sun shadows and sun rays and stuff. And also, just to reinforce, so this is that side here. Somebody drew a sun circle above here. And there's a very narrow passage in which you could sort of see to the horizon where the sun would have rose on the solstice through here.
Wow.
So yeah, and oh, there, I didn't have to go back to find there. There goes that sun dagger I was
It's
talking about.
fascinating.
Yeah. And so here, let me skip through. This is just to show the angles of the sun compared to the right. This is not, I'm not happy with this picture. I have to redo it. But the book, in the book, it's been the last like the 9th chapter out of 10 chapters talking about the various other signs of the sun moving across this particular rock outcropping. Because I think in retrospect, and again, I wasn't thinking this at all when I was there, so I don't really have pictures. Those grooves in the wall, I believe, would have been those same sun daggers, and I think that's why they were putting grooves in the wall. I think that at certain times of the day and probably at a certain time of the year, there would have been sun arc going down the wall, right, in this particular pattern, getting closer and closer to the cave, which is over here. So I think that they were trying to track the sun here as well, as the sun would have formed these different arcs, right? And so yeah, so in the book I talk about that, and also there's a bunch of like artificial sort of holes dug into the wall as well. I think that that's what they were sort of doing here.
What an overwhelming of information.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
I do
no,
want to.
no, that you have to say sorry. It's mind blowing, and people like this when somebody tells his yes his work and his interesting joy. So okay, did you have more, or is it one of the last thing?
Yeah, this is one of the last things I did want to mention
Okay,
again, the younger
yes.
dryads impact. And again, I'm going to show this. Again, people have been finding more and more evidence that something might have hit, including somebody on their academia webpage put up these particular, I guess, possible impact craters of something that if you had something like a comet explode over what would have been the ice cap in Canada, it might have radiated in these directions, right? Somebody more recently did an article here from what is it, 2021, showing younger dryads impact evidence in all the different places in the world where we see signs of that. This is from last year. This is 2025, August 6th, in Plus One. They find platinum and microspherules and other things to show a comet impact at the younger dryads as well. Really quickly, so the theory is that the younger dryads impact might have been caused by a comet coming out of the Taurid meteor shower. The Taurid meteor shower is called the Taurid meteor shower because it appears in the constellation of Taurus, which is, you know, the Pleiades is right above Taurus's back. Taurus is our bull constellation, right? It's the time of year we pass through the Taurid zone twice each year. One June, July period, and then again September, November period. Now, remember what I was saying earlier about the time periods in 13,000 years ago. 13,000 years ago, the calendar dates, June, July, September, November, would have been different. But
Yes.
the September, November is the same time period between the equinox and the winter solstice or the southern solstice. So between the equinox and the southern solstice, this image again is between these not the summer solstice, the winter solstice is between the winter solstice, which is over here on the one side of Seha Damashara, right? And the equinox, which is over here on the other side of Seha Damashara. And so this image, again, with this thing coming down, would have been the time period that Earth is moving through the torrid meteor shower, which again points to the Younger Dryas period that a lot of other scholars were suggesting. And so that's why I believe that this might actually be a comet coming towards the Earth that people would have seen in Monte Alegre. And that might be why they were trying to track the sun or whatever else was in the sky, because again, a comet, just like right now you hear lots of talk about the 3-eye Atlas comet, right? We've been talking about it for months. As a comet is approaching it, it takes months. Now, obviously, a naked eye astronomer would not have seen a comet. Let me be clear about that. You would not have seen normally a comet until it's close to the sun and it is starting to reflect light from the sun, or if it's getting closer to the Earth. And I think that's when, if a comet is getting closer to the Earth, it might even be as bright as the sun at some point as it's about to hit the Earth. So this could have been a day, it could have been a couple of days to a day. The comet almost certainly hit way up in the north, but for South America, for the Amazon, at least for that day, perhaps they might have seen it in the sky as bright as the sun. And so I think that's what they're actually painting here. They might have been painting the comet approaching to the Earth that was rivaling, like if this is the sun, this thing is basically as big and bright and coming towards the Earth. So yeah, that's what it looks like. And that's a possibility, at least.
Great.
So okay, so that's it.
Wow.
I don't know
What
how
a
to unshare my
presentation.
screen.
That's all, folks. That's all, folks. Well, it's fantastic to see this, and what an explanation of your knowledge and what your findings. Wow. It's mind blowing, and I hope the people that they see it, they think so too. Have you, and we come to the end to the program because it was quite a lot of stuff, and people must think it in what you have let it see. Do you think there's still a massive library of knowledge, hidden knowledge beneath the jungle?
Oh, yeah. I think that we've only scratched the surface of what's in the Amazon for sure. And then there's been some more work done. A lot of Brazilian archaeologists have picked up and have started to do a lot more research down there. And so, yeah, I'm sure you're going to find and hear more and more things in the next couple of decades from Brazilian archaeologists who are finding some incredible things.
Did you have a next big expedition in your mind?
Yes, I do. It hasn't gotten off the ground yet, but there's another site that I'm trying to get some grant funding to go into. I don't want to name it right here because I don't want other people to sort of beat the punch to it. But yeah, there's a site that I'm looking at that I think also dates back to this time period. It's not. It's closer to the coast, to the Atlantic coast, but yeah, it's got some very interesting rock art and also some very interesting rock features that and very little is known about it currently. So I would like to get into that area and figure out what's going on there. Yep.
Okay. Before I got the last two questions, how do you like it, the show now at the moment? My English was much better than the first episode. What is your feeling about the show we have now?
Oh yeah, it's I think myself, I feel more comfortable now. My voice is better, certainly. The last one we did it early in the morning here, the last podcast. So I had really just woken up and so I had sort of the frog morning voice anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, more comfortable. I think both of us kind of are more comfortable with each other, and so yeah, it's been a
Yes.
great time. Yeah.
And would you in the other time later a year or another moment come back when you have got some news or when you want to talk about consciousness? Well, that's a full program. What you said
Sure.
in the episode, the first
Yeah.
episode. Would you to come back at People United?
Anytime. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Well, great.
anytime you will have me, I'd love to come back.
Well, that's great. Then we can still connect with each other with Holland and America. And a couple other questions. How can people support your work or find out more? What can we do as People United, or what can we do to support your work?
Yeah, I guess I still the only sort of major outlet I have has been my academia page. What is it? I don't even remember the handle. It's either Sentient Sake or Christopher.Davis at academia .org. Yeah, that's still the best way. I do have a well, no, that's the best way for people to contact me. I've had some people contact me through there, so it's probably
Okay.
best to keep it that way.
If you could deliver one message from the ancient Amazon people to the world right now, what would it be?
Oh, wow, that's a tough one. Just pay attention to your world, and because it could change in an instant. So, take the warnings more serious. We need to make changes quicker. We need to understand that things can change really quickly. Things have been changing quickly as it is. And again, don't be sort of lulled to sleep by the sort of day to day, slower appearance of change because, the environment can change quickly and what we do, even. Don't lose sight of our connection to nature because we're still very much in it and it still impacts our world, even our human created world. So, yeah, I
Okay.
appreciate the question.
Yes, you're welcome. For people who have see this podcast, please you can subscribe our channel, and if you are from another country, you can translate the video like this. If you want to follow me on YouTube, be don't be shy and subscribe and like this video. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Telegram. And if you want to leave a message, you're welcome. And you can write me if you want to say about this program. Don't forget to listen our Spotify. Then you can listen to this program that we have made with Chris. And for people on Spotify, it's the best way to look the YouTube video because on a little screen you follow thing and you're driving, it's not safe for you. So you can better if you have listened this podcast to go to our YouTube channel, describe our link, always describing of our podcast, so you can click there and you can see the full presentation with Christopher Davis. Well, Davis, Christopher, it was a big honor for the second time, and it was a mind blowing with a lot of information. I will thank you for everything. And no, I ask you last what you want to say, but your last saying about the question I have give great, good enough to make it the broadcasting ending. I hope you have understanding me, and I think a lot better than what you said than the first episode. I think both are a little bit nervous for me, from Holland, to speak in English. And well, I'm a little bit proud of me what I did today. So if you get an exam, I get now 6 plus, and before the first episode is a 5. So we got a little bit forward. So I will thank you. We were connecting after the show a little bit. And all people, thank you very much for all your patience. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you will do very right. And thank you, Christopher, against. And well, people united. Unity is the only way. We do it together with each other. And that I say thank you. Bye bye.
And thank you, Danny. Thanks a lot for having me. Take care.
Great.